Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Janice, and welcome to Sangha Live. This meditation series has been going on for months now. It started with the COVID global pandemic. Caverly Morgan is back with us today to offer a 30-minute meditation and then have dialogue with you to answer your questions, to talk about what's alive for you in your practice right now. So thank you for being here. If you have been benefiting from these practices, please consider donating if you can. This practice of Dana is what makes these teachings accessible. It supports the teachers like Caverly. It supports the tech and the background work. So there's a button right below me. Thank you for supporting. If you can, any amount is appreciated. And the format for today, I'll do just a couple of announcements and then we'll bring Caverly on for the meditation. If you want to come on screen afterwards, we love that. So just let us know in the sidebar if you would like to come on screen and have a chat with Caverly. So Caverly Morgan, she's a dear friend of mine. I've known her for, I think this summer it will be a decade. She started as my meditation teacher and mentor, and she grew into my boss and is the fairy godmother to my son. And so we just have a deep and beautiful relationship, and Caverly offers so much. She's deeply passionate about practice. She's passionate about social justice. She's got a great sense of humor. So if you're meeting her just for the first time, you're in for a treat. A couple of announcements. If you want to dive into practice even deeper with Caverly, you can join her Wednesday night meditation tomorrow. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's on Zoom. It's a much more intimate group. So definitely check that out if you want, just a deeper experience with Caverly. And then Caverly is also the creator of Presence Collective. It's a growing community of meditation teachers, healers, sages that have a particular commitment to social justice. And I want to highlight that Presence Collective is offering weekly webinars. They're hour-long teachings from all different Presence Collective teachers, donation basis. And my dear friend, Michael Bodie, is leading this Thursdays. I believe the topic is meditation and the heart of the warrior. So we can drop a link in for that. And then the next following Thursdays are led by Dr. Sarat King and Michelle Cassandra Johnson, who are amazing Black leaders who would be really valuable to learn from right now. So stay tuned for those. And then just Presence Collective in general, the website. So Presence Collective has not yet had its very own website, and that's going to be launching soon. So stay tuned. I can't wait for everyone to see it. And lastly, Retreat with Caverly. So that every summer, Caverly offers an in-depth retreat. Normally, it's in person, often in the California Redwoods. But this year, it's going to be offered online. And Caverly is collaborating with a few other teachers. The schedule, all the teachers are now up on her website. Check it out and consider registering. I love this retreat. I've gone many summers, and it's just a really, I think the theme is resting as the stillness of being, which really encompasses the heart of what's offered. So those are all the announcements for today. Let's go ahead and bring Caverly on and we'll get started. Hi, Caverly.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah,
really appreciate your willingness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Friends, I want to start this morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I want to start this morning with a very loving shout out to all the people supporting this. We have Alyssa on the call today. She's the Presence Collective Community Coordinator, Community Builder, and my assistant. I'm really glad to have her here. She's helping with tech today. Janice has, as you've seen, tirelessly and with a tremendous amount of willingness just shown up to support these sessions. I want to give a shout out to Joyce. Joyce is actually Janice's mother, and I've known Joyce as long as I've known Janice. We met in Sacramento when the nonprofit began. Joyce has been helping to transcribe, creating little time markers for potential video clips for later. Just a lot of really great volunteer work. And we checked in yesterday, and I think I didn't even realize how much Joyce was doing. And then there's a wonderful community member named Ben that's actually helping edit some videos. It's just really been a background team making these teachings available, accessible, and I'm very grateful for the community. And of course, I'm grateful, so grateful to Sangha Live. Those of you who've seen me show up here day after day know that I often give a shout out to Sangha Live, because I do think that they are, well, I'll just acknowledge that it's my favorite platform to work with in terms of who's making up their team, how they do what they do, how they walk their talk. I feel tempted to say how we walk our talk, because I feel so connected to Sangha Live at this point. So please do check out all the different things they offer. And I have been neglecting to request an announcement about the month-long classes that I have online through Sangha Live. But I do want to turn your attention to those as well if you're new to showing up and you'd like to explore some of the tools that I often make reference to. I, in particular, would like to recommend that course. It's a month-long course. You could watch it at your own pace, called A Bridge to Happiness, and that's through Sangha Live. All right, thanks, Janice, for posting these links. Michael Bodie's been a student for years now, and I'm very glad that he's stepping out as a Presence Collective teacher, and it would be lovely to see you there. And then, yes, that's the summer retreat link. Good morning, or let's see, good evening to you, Nikki. Yes, I remember you're in the UK. Charlie, hi, coming in from California. Thank you. And Janice, thanks for posting that Bridge to Happiness link. All right, Maria, good evening from sunny afternoon in Botanical Gardens, Silent Corner. I just wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude for all the time I've spent with you all since April, and so much love and gratitude to you, Caverly. We'll send a message in mail for all the abundant gifts from and through you. Thank you so much for your loving presence. Thank you. As I often mention in these calls, these calls are what they are because of the community. It wouldn't interest me to come into my little meditation room, and a shout out to my husband for building this space for me. It wouldn't interest me to come here and just talk to myself. So it's being in relationship with you that's been meaningful to me. So thank you. All this gratitude, aside, but not at all aside, perhaps infusing everything we do today, I did bring another poem. Today's poem is by another Black poet, Rita Dove. So if you're not familiar with the work of Rita Dove, I encourage you to check her out. Before we move into that, taking just 1 minute to listen to the body, notice what's here now. Would it feel nice to stretch, maybe twist the spine, roll the shoulders, settle into whatever position's gonna work best for you for this meditation. Have another sip of tea. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you. If you're new, welcome. You're joining a warm and sincere and dedicated community of people who want to be awake in this world and during this time. You are welcome here. Charlie, I see your question. Thank you. It's oolong. And yes, it's caffeinated. I've mentioned, maybe you haven't been on a call on a day, Charlie, when I've mentioned that 8 o'clock is not normally my time to shine. So oolong is a very good friend to me. Yeah. Kiki, Rita Dove was the United States Poet Laureate from 1993 to 1995. Thank you, Kiki. I'd forgotten that. Appreciate you posting that. All right, friends. Thank you. Rita Dove's poem that I'm sharing with you today is called The First Book. Open it. Go ahead, it won't bite. Well, maybe a little. More like a nip, like a tingle. It's pleasurable, really. You see, it keeps on opening. You may fall in. Sure, it's hard to get started. Remember learning to use knife and fork. Dig in. You'll never reach bottom. It's not like it's the end of the world. Just the world as you think you know it. This is from On the Bus with Rosa Parks, 1999. It's short, I'll read it one more time. The First Book by Rita Dove. Open it. Go ahead, it won't bite. Well, maybe a little. More a nip, like a tingle. It's pleasurable, really. You see, it keeps on opening. You may fall in. Sure, it's hard to get started. Remember learning to use knife and fork. Dig in. You'll never reach bottom. It's not like it's the end of the world. Just the world as you think you know it. So friends, as we settle into stillness together today, I wanted to continue with yesterday's theme of hope as the light of possibility. I wanted to acknowledge the changes that we're seeing. in our world. Allow yourself in this meditation to simply consider the world as you've known it. I'm not suggesting that there's an endpoint, and it's worth acknowledging. Statues that are representations of slavery, symbols of white supremacy coming down. It's worth acknowledging. The funding, the direction of resources, in relationship to our police forces being questioned, defunded, reconsidered, restructured. It's worth acknowledging the many ripple effects that come when community voices shared desire for justice, for truth to shine. The street on the way to the White House that holds a massive mural, Black Lives Matter. That statement not being a fringe statement only used by marginalized populations anymore. Allow yourself to touch the world, the vision of the world that is freed from some of the conditioned veils that we're accustomed to living within, the conditioned veil of othering. Of bias. Imagine our world being freed from the conditioned dynamic of domination. Start here in the privacy of your own heart. What is being freed from the conditioned dynamic of domination look and feel like? Find it now. What today, what in this moment is yours to let go of in order to know your inherent liberation, your inherent freedom? What is yours to let go of? Don't be afraid to let go of the world as you know it. Don't be afraid to let go of yourself as you know yourself. With your eyes closed, look at yourself and the world with fresh eyes. How will love and your understanding, your direct experience of interconnection, our shared being, manifest through you next? What form will that love take? The Quakers talk about the still, small voice within. Become quiet enough to hear this still, small voice within. Become sensitive enough to hear. If the mind is busy today, see the mind as simply part of a veil. Just a bit of thin fabric. Lightly covering this experience of openness, this space. That we describe as freedom. The activity of the conditioned mind doesn't create hard metal bars. See it as a thin veil. Pull it back, dive in. Open it. This vastness won't bite. What's here when you let go of the world that you've known? When you let go of the conditioning that has colored the world that you've known. When you slide in and trust your direct experience instead. Friends, thank you. This is my opportunity to remind you to support Sangha Live if you can. Please, please do. We can't continue without that. So thanks to all of those who have been supporting Sangha Live. And if you're new, the green button is right below me. Again, we rely solely on support from you and others who are participating in these daily calls. Glad that Martin's back after being sick with COVID for, I believe, 10 weeks. So here's to your health, your good health, Martin. If you're new, Martin is the co-founder of Sangha Live. Jake is the co-founder as well. And many, many folks have had a chance to meet Jake, or at least heard me talk about how much I love Jake. So please donate, please support if you can. And thank you, Cheryl. Friends, what shall we discuss today? I'd love to have you come on screen. Tell me what's alive in your practice. What did you notice about today's meditation, or Rita Dove's beautiful poem? The first book. What did you notice? What's alive for you? This continuing theme of hope and possibility, seeing through the veil, what gets in the way. If you'd like to, if you're new and you're not sure how to come on screen, you just type in the sidebar that you wish to come on. And then today Alyssa will bring you on. So it'd be good for her to test it out. So you just let us know that you'd like to come on screen and we'll have an exchange. But whatever you're noticing, whatever you're present to in your practice now, or you can put a question in the Ask a Question box as well. Morning, Charlie. I have been already, and found in this meditation that what is mine to let go of is complacency and inaction. Truly like reading the first book of myself. Charlie, this seems like a very important insight indeed. You can see that you're conditioned to have complacency and inaction veil your deepest expressions of love, the deepest expressions of love that manifest through the form we call Charlie. Feel free to come on screen if you'd like. Yes, great. You're willing to come on to discuss more in depth? No, that's great. If anyone would like to come on after Charlie, please write that in. We have time, we have space today. So Alyssa, if you'd bring on Charlie, that would be lovely. Truly like reading the first book of myself. Yes.
Love that this works so well now.
I know, it's been really relieving. Alyssa, thank you. Well done. And Charlie, it looks like you are calling in from sunny California.
I sure am. My headphones are doing this weird thing again. Do you mind giving me just a moment?
Of course not. No, thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's so strange. I can't hear you though. How's this?
Oh, okay.
Testing.
Well,
Testing.
that I can hear you.
Bear with. Okay, but I'm struggling to hear you. So give me just one more second.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for your patience, friends.
Okay, that should have fixed it.
Okay, great.
I think. I don't know.
Well, can you hear me now? Oh, darn. Okay.
I think I can now, though. I just took the headphones off. Maybe that'll be best.
Okay, thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, and thank you, Caverly. It's bedhead and all. You're right. It's early here, so I apologize to all those that are watching. Although I don't really mind.
No, it's the intimacy of our shared being. I love it.
It sure is. But yeah, just going with that, it's really since these protests started, I've noticed that what's coming up for me and what I'm sitting with is this conditioned process that I've lived for years of thinking that that my contributions won't be big enough to matter and affect change. And as I'm letting go of other things in my life that have kept me back and held me down, as I've said goodbye to those items, I'm finding this space within myself that's always been there. That it really does feel like my true nature is finally allowed to speak. And I noticed that conditioned process of complacency and inaction coming up in even the most minor of conversations with people. But because I'm aware of it now, it's like a thin veil. It's not like steel bars.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you for sharing that. When you were speaking, I was having this image of, yesterday I used the word God and I gave it some context. I know for some recovering Catholics or Christians, like in a Buddhist platform setting, it can be a little triggering. So I want to acknowledge that someone could plug in for God, whatever word works best for them. Pure consciousness, awareness, whatever's you use to point to what's larger than the individual ego. So I had this image of a Christian mystic singing to God. Imagine the difference between the mystic singing only if the mystic thinks the song will be heard by other people and then other people will be converted to this religion versus just singing for the love of God. This is my song to sing out of love for God. Imagine that song being squelched by the conditioned belief that it has to look this way, it has to affect these people, it has to create X, Y, and Z. How free is that song if the song is limited to that construct?
Right. It loses its magic when we limit it within construct.
It loses its magic. It loses its power. It loses its effectiveness. It loses its soul.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kept us, and I say us as the very broad us of society and this world. There have been wars fought surrounding religion for eons. Mm-hmm. And why? Mm-hmm. So that I can be right? Mm-hmm. So that I can feed my ego mind?
Right.
It's, the song I sing with God is one that doesn't require definition of God. It's my God loves you just as much as they love me. And I don't know if God's a woman or a man. I don't care to define it. I think God's probably gender non-binary, but you know, it's.
But I hear that what you're saying, Charlie, is it's not a concern to you.
It's not.
You're looking to see what's there when this veil of limitation is seen through, when it's lifted. And that's where real inquiry happens. From that pulling back of the veil, what is God? From a real place of inquiry, not from just trying to answer a question from the head, what is larger than this limitation of the conditioned mind, the structure of the activity of the conditioned mind, which is just the ego? What's larger than that? Who am I? That's the inquiry that can happen when this veil is pulled back. And as you're naming, it's critical to see that veil, to see, oh, the veil in my case is complacency and inaction. It's a conditioned tendency to think that what I have to offer doesn't matter. It's a conditioned tendency to fall into a devaluing of being, which is, yeah.
You naming that and helping me identify that just brought something up that I'd like to ask you. So I'm going to try to ask it in a wise way. If when I'm noticing these things and I'm noticing, you know, that I'm now moving through that complacency and inaction, I also, at those moments where I'm taking action and I am speaking up and out as opposed to not, I feel it feed my ego mind, but I also feel it feed my soul.
Yes, you, I think, Charlie, were on the calls about it's not what, it's how. Remember when we talked about process a little bit? And Charlie, no worries if not. Yeah. Go back.
I did catch one or two of those.
Okay, good. I think we had a series of 4, and you know, you might want to go back and see the ones that you missed, because what you're pointing to right now is the importance of seeing the process and not the content. Watching, okay, we can act from the ego, and we can have the same action come from the heart. We can protest from identification with the ego, and we can protest from identification, or I wouldn't even use that word because I usually delegate identification to be in relationship with the conditioned mind, but from the alignment, from the knowing of our interconnection, of our shared being. We can act from there. It's an attention to process that's useful.
Attention to process. It makes sense. And it makes sense also that those two things can coincide.
Totally.
And it doesn't be something that's worrisome, just something that requires further work.
It's actually about attention. It's about just noticing. I can feel that this is arising on behalf of the ego. It doesn't mean it's bad or wrong, or now I have to try to get rid of the ego. Only the ego would try to get rid of the ego.
Yeah.
But seeing it, it's like seeing, oh, okay, I just gave the keys to a drunk 16-year-old and who's now suggesting that he should drive my car. I think I won't get in that one. And in fact, I think I'll support that team by taking the keys away, taking the attention, drawing the attention away from that activity, reclaiming my seat as presence.
That's an awesome analogy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Thanks for calling in. And Joyce, thanks for posting these process content sessions. If you want to see anything you missed, Charlie, it's May 21, 22, 25, 26.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Great.
Joyce. Thank you, Caverly.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.
Hi, Patricia from Argentina. How profound this dialogue is. Thank you. Wise words. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate the participation so much from folks. Again, I think of I think of this this being sometimes like a little bit of a tap in terms of water. Like if there's no engagement, it tends to just be quietly shut off. But as soon as there's engagement, the tap opens. So thank you for your engagement, whether it's writing in or calling in. Happy to have that tap quietly turn off or down for the last few minutes of this session, or have one more person call in. Up to you, friends. If we're going to move into quiet for the last few minutes, you could come back to enjoying the breath. Enjoying being. And since I don't see any more questions or comments, I'll just end with Rita Dove's poem one more time. It's short and so lovely. The First Book by Rita Dove. Open it. Go ahead, it won't bite. Well, maybe a little. Or a nip, like a tingle. It's pleasurable, really. You see, it keeps on opening. You may fall in. Sure, it's hard to get started. Remember learning to use knife and fork. Dig in. You'll never reach bottom. It's not like the end of the world. It's just the world as you think you know it. So friends, thank you so much for being here today. Enjoy your practice today of seeing through the veil that makes the world appear a particular way. And perhaps it's a world that you've known. Enjoy this inquiry into the heart of what's truly here and now on the deepest level. Thank you, Jonathan, for your comment. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, friends. Hope to see you tomorrow.